Hello, my name's Paul. Welcome to my channel, Talking Music, where every song has a story, and that's what we like to do. We like to talk about the song, information, secrets, stories behind the song, using soundbites and facts. And today's song is a biggie. It's the Beatles, and She Loves You. Now, this song was written by John Lennon and Paul McCartney, released in September 1963 in the UK and the US. This was the song, and to be fair, along with I Want to Hold Your Hand, that shook up the world and announced the Beatles had arrived. Some 9 months before the release of this song, they debuted in the UK with Love Me Do, which made it to number 17. Then in the March of 1963, they reached number 2 with Please Please Me. Then in May, their first number 1 for 7 weeks, From Me to You. Everything going well for the boys up until now, and then with this song, She Loves You, pow, the song that ended up being the biggest hit of the decade in the United Kingdom. And it was different lyrically to what was going on in the charts at the time, and before, in fact. It wasn't one of those I love you, you love me type of songs, but one where a third person was actually telling the story. Now, the song sort of stumbled at first in the US because EMI and the company's American label, Capitol, refused to release it. But the song found its way out through a smaller label, Swan Records, in the US, after Brian Epstein had negotiated a deal with a smaller record company. So that was the reason why the song managed a September 1963 release in America to coincide with the release date in the UK. The song reached the lower echelons of the chart in the US. Of course, as we know, it really took off in the UK. But it reached the lower reaches of the charts in the US. And EMI and Capitol finally came to their senses at the end of 1963. And they released the next song on the Beatles repertoire that was due to be released, I Want to Hold Your Hand. And with this song being such an immediate success, She Loves You was reissued again in January of 1964, and then really enjoyed a big-time success stateside. It was again released on the Swan record label, but fans buying the record didn't care whether it was on Swan Records or Capitol. But with Capitol Records, the Beatles got the big marketing push stateside that Swan Records were unable to do. But even though being on a different record label, She Loves You still got that push because the common denominator, of course, was the Beatles. So with Capitol now promoting I Want to Hold Your Hand, She Loves You really got a second wind and went on to top the US chart for 2 weeks in March 1964. And what a year that year was in 1964 for the Fab Four. They spent 18 weeks at number 1 in America this year with I Want to Hold Your Hand, She Loves You, Can't Buy Me Love, Love Me Do, A Hard Day's Night, and I Feel Fine. And between summer 63 and summer 64, they had 24 weeks on top of the UK charts, with From Me to You, She Loves You, I Want to Hold Your Hand, Can't Buy Me Love, and A Hard Day's Night. Now, if that's not chart domination of the world's 2 biggest pop music markets, I don't know what is. And of course, looking at this chart here now, the Beatles in April of 1964 stateside filled up the top 5 places on the Billboard Hot 100. Unheard of. But the boys from Liverpool had done it. She Loves You, and in fairness, helped by I Want to Hold Your Hand in America, opened up the floodgates to Beatlemania and a distinct shift in pop culture in the 1960s. Now, the song itself was recorded on July the 1st, 1963 in the Abbey Road Studios, London, as the record company EMI were pressing the band for a follow-up to cement the success of From Me to You, which had topped the chart in May and June that year. The band had been touring, as Paul McCartney explained in an interview from 1964.
There's a story to this one, how we wrote it. We were on tour with a show. We were on tour with Roy Orbison and Jerry and the Pacemakers, and we were in Newcastle, up to the north of England, and we were in a hotel room, and we had about 3 days left in which to write a song, which we had a recording date set for 3 days, from this date. So we went to the hotel and we booked in a room, and we just decided that we have to write a song very quickly. So we sat down and no ideas came for a bit, but eventually we got an idea, and She Loves You came. It was just lucky. Yeah, see, if we write one song, then we can get going then after that. We can get more ideas after having written one song.
Yeah.
So we wrote I'll Get You, which is the B-side first, and then She Loves You came after that. We got ideas from that. And we recorded it.
Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard.
On the day of recording, sound engineer Norman Smith, who was to enjoy his own success as an artist in the early 1970s as Hurricane Smith, he had been the man who'd been working as the sound engineer with the Beatles from the day of their audition at EMI Studios in 1962 all the way through to the Rubber Soul album in 1965. And he went about his usual duties that day, setting up the studio microphones for the recording.
I had to go down to make an adjustment to a mic. And by this time, the handwritten lyrics was on the music stand. So I went across and read the lyrics and the title on top, and it said, "She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, 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 yeah." That's all it had on the lyrics. And I thought to myself, my word, this is going to be some sort of a funny song. Because up to then, I mean, I'd loved every song they had done. But I thought, this one's going to be a bit iffy, I think, by the look of that lyric. But of course, once they started, I mean, it was just fantastic.
Norman Smith had always been impressed by the Beatles, and particularly their personality as a band.
Well, right from the very start, their sound wasn't very good because their equipment wasn't terribly good. But what I wanted to do, there was something different about this guitar group, than I'd seen before with any other guitar groups. Just something different. And what I wanted to do, therefore, was there was such a personality about them that I recognised straight away. Funny enough, I don't think George Martin did initially. But I did. This personality came through to me strongly. So what I wanted to do was to try to capture a sound whereby they were actually performing for you in your room when you listened. And the sound, like for instance, if you went to a theatre at any time to see a band or whatever, you would get a mixture of the direct sound from the stage and also from the acoustics of the theatre that you were in. This is what I wanted to try and get, because this would add to the live, and I hoped the personality of this band.
In order to get the sound of a live performance, the studio had to be set up in a certain way.
So what I did, I would start them off by letting them play what levels they were comfortable at. First of all, setting them all up so that they were close together. And they were happy they could hear one another, and play off one another. I knew how important this was because I was a jazz musician and had my own quintet myself, and I knew how important it was for us to be close together. So this I wanted to get with the boys. So I set them up to start with as though they were performing on stage. Then I said, set your own levels on the run through that you're happy with. So this they did, and they were happy with it. And then what I would do then, I wanted to get the ambience of the room of number 2 studio as well. And that came about by me positioning the microphones sometimes as much as 20 or 30 feet away from an amplifier in order to get this. And that was strictly against the EMI rules. The company policy was that set down by the 2 major senior sound engineers. And when I first became a sound engineer, I was told by the management, you must adhere to the rules that they've laid down, which was an awful lot of screens and close microphoning, positioning, and that sort of thing. But then, as I said to you now, once I got developed and recognised as a sound engineer, I thought, well, to hell with the rules, I'm going to do it my way.
Producer George Martin, often referred to as the fifth Beatle, was also striving for a live sound on the record, and could see how they had the beginnings of this Beatles sound with Please Please Me, and also with From Me to You, those two songs being totally different to Love Me Do, their debut hit. Now, potentially their biggest song to date was about to be recorded, She Loves You, and it was going to get the same treatment.
You know, I was very excited about the boys. I thought we had a really big group on our hands, and the first record didn't do all that well. It got to number 17, and I was convinced that if I had the right song, I would have a real hit with them. Well, we got it. I knew it was a number one when we made it, and it certainly turned out to be that way. And it was just like recording a live album in a way, because it was all done straight onto two-track. Yes, it was two-track recording, because we didn't have four-track then. But I used it as two-track, not stereo, because I kept the rhythm separate from the voices. So I was able to compress the two together and make a harder sound.
George Harrison had come up with an arrangement for the harmonies which George Martin had disliked. He thought they were corny. The band overruled their producer on the harmonies, but took his suggestion to start the song off with the chorus. This allowed the song to come charging in right from the start. It also started off a series of songs from the Beatles through the years that did the same thing, dispensing with an instrumental introduction, like Can't Buy Me Love, Help, Yellow Submarine, Eleanor Rigby, Penny Lane, Hey Jude, and more. At the time of the recording, there was a great enthusiasm for the song, with possibly one exception. It's a story Paul McCartney has told a number of times.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a story I tell, you know, people might have heard it a bit, but we used to write in the back room of our house in Forthland Road in Allerton, Liverpool, and Dad would be in the living room watching the telly, you know, and we'd be in the back room writing She Loves You and stuff. And John and I came out, we'd done it in the evening, and we used to try it out, and my dad said, how do you like this? She loves you? Yeah, and played it all. He said, very nice, son. He says, very nice. He said, but there's enough of these Americanisms around. Couldn't you sing She Loves You, yes, yes, yes?
When the Beatles first touched down at JFK Airport on February the 7th, 1964, their arrival heralded what was to be termed Beatlemania. And the immediate press conference was not taken particularly seriously by either the journalists or the band.
I'm trying to ask a question. Would you be quiet, please?
Please sing something.
No! Sorry. Next question.
You can sing.
No, we need money first. There's a question here.
How many are bald if you have to wear those bigs?
All of us. I'm bald.
You're bald?
Oh, we're all bald. Don't tell anyone, please. I'm deaf and dumb, too. It's a gentleman melody. We're only a quiet, please. Quiet, please. This is a man asking a question.
Quiet. Are you for real?
Come and have a feel.
Sorry about that.
Listen, I got a question here. Do you hope to get a haircut at all? No. Nope. No, thanks. I had one yesterday. That's no lie. It's true. There's one here.
What your music does to these people?
I don't know. Well, it pleases them, I think. Well, they must do because they're buying it.
Why does it excite you so much?
We don't know, really. If we knew, we'd form another group and be managers.
But the reaction of their first appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show, who liked to showcase new talent, was stunning. So stunning, in fact, it led to that extraordinary Billboard Hot 100 chart, where the band filled all the first 5 top places. No one has had so many American hits in such a short time as the Beatles. Virtually unknown in the US on New Year's Day 1964, by the beginning of April they'd had 4 US number ones, 2 top albums, and accounted for 60% of all records sold in the US during that first quarter. A record-breaking 73 million people watched them sing She Loves You on the Ed Sullivan Show, and the tour was a resounding commercial success. She Loves You went to number 7 in West Germany. It was recorded in German, as the group had a working knowledge of the language, and it was called Sie lieb dich. It topped the charts in Sweden, the English version, also Norway, New Zealand and Canada, and of course the very important US and UK markets. Its UK chart run was outstanding. It entered the chart at number 12 on the 31st of August 1963. The next week it went to number 3, then the week after, its first week at number 1, then an astonishing run that lasted 3 months. Here's how these songs stayed in the top 3 and would eventually return to the top of the charts. 4 weeks at number 1 from September the 14th, then 12th of October, number 3 for 3 weeks, November the 2nd, up to number 2 for 2 weeks, then back down to number 3, then the week after, up to number 2 again, and on the 30th of November, up to number 1 for another 2 weeks. December the 14th, they slipped to number 2, where it stayed over Christmas and New Year. Then on January the 4th, 1964, it slipped to number 3 on the UK charts before eventually dropping over the next 4 weeks down and out of the chart. Meanwhile, I Want to Hold Your Hand had been number 1 since December the 14th. She Loves You sold 1.8 million copies in the UK alone, making it the best seller of the decade in the UK. The second best, incidentally, was I Want to Hold Your Hand. It was principally these 2 songs that broke America for the band, with She Loves You having had that difficulty at first with the record company getting released, but then after the immediate success of I Want to Hold Your Hand, got a second chance and raced up the US charts. As a single in worldwide sales, it ranks highly among the other Fab Four's successes. There you can see their 4th most successful song in record sales worldwide. And it's that song again, I Want to Hold Your Hand, being their most successful with 12 million record sales. She Loves You is just a terrific song. Lyrically, it talks about love, but from a third-person perspective, and includes the unpredictable line and the advisory line, pride will hurt you too, apologise to her. The song just bursts out at the opening and keeps bursting for 2.5 minutes. And in the history of pop music, you can't say that of many songs. The Beatles and She Loves You. Well, that's it for this Talking Music. I do hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please subscribe to my channel. It doesn't cost anything at all, of course. All you need to do is click the subscribe button and you'll get a notification the next time we post another video. And you'll also get the chance to view all the other songs featured in Talking Music, where every song has a story. So until next time, and I look forward to it, I'll wish you well. Till then, bye-bye.